Alright guys, so we have a Samsung dryer. So typical, most Samsung's gonna have element issue. Not always, but usually I would say 90% of the time you have a Samsung that is not heating, it's going to be the element. Not always. Could be a motor, could be a board, so, or any of the thermostats. So you always want to take it apart, check. You don't want to just start buying parts and just throwing parts at it. So, do your due diligence. So we're taking it apart. You do have Phillips screws in the back. You take the cover off. You want to slide the cover back away from the front and lift. And then you have the screws there in the front. Don't forget the screw on the board because you'll have to remove the metal plate. Always pay attention to how these are removed, not those two connectors, but behind the plate. I've actually seen where people did not put them back into the keeper, the wire keeper, and those wires actually came in contact with the drum as the drum was rotating, so be mindful. Those screws, make sure you keep those screws. Those are special screws. I've seen sometimes where people forget what screw go where, and you find those special screws all over the place. So they go on that front panel. And just remember your door switch. When you remove, be gentle. You don't want to rip or damage. And those clips, just be careful when you pull the cover off. You don't push them down too far. You have 4 screws to hold the front bulkhead. Always clean that out. When you're working on your dryer, if you see it's filthy, just do your part, clean it out. So there's the keeper. That's the wire keeper. Pay attention to where they go. Make sure you put them back where they go. If you need to take a picture or whatever, do that. Is that important? Now to remove this piece, I like to rotate the drum as I pull. So you slightly pull at the bottom as you rotate the drum slowly, and it comes right off. And you always want to check your rollers, make sure they're operating nice and smooth. To remove the belt, here's a shot. It helps. So now we're checking for continuity. Now we're checking the other thermostats. Obviously, by you touching the broken part on the element, it tells you that the element is in fact damaged. Now, what we're going to do here now, we're going to check the board. So, for example, if you had an element that was good, but your dryer was not heating, then we would be testing the board. So you will have to reconnect back that bulkhead, and you would connect your switch, your door switch, and also the sensor at the bottom. So you can always do a dry fit, just basically put it back together partially. Don't put the drum back in though. And you'll have your tester connected to the element wires and have your meter on volts AC. In my case, I had a door switch available, so I didn't have to use it. And what you're gonna do, use the belt, and you do need the belt to activate the door switch, or the belt switch, I'm sorry. So your belt switch, and plug the machine in. Be very careful. It is a live test. Now you need to connect back your console. And what we're doing now is checking for voltage. And you're looking for 240 volts. Yeah, this plug setup at this customer's house was very difficult. It's not even fully inserted, so it was definitely a pain in the. I was able to get it though. So now we have power. We're going to be looking for 240 volts at the element wires, as you can see it. So if all is well and you're not getting 240 volts, you would have to do further testing. I would be suspecting the board is bad or the motor. Okay, I'll have a video on that soon, on actually doing tests, because the motor plays a very important role in heating as well. Most times Samsung, when their motor is bad, the dryer will just not turn on, or it will make a humming noise, or the dryer will run for a few minutes then turn off. But sometimes the machine will still run and you just won't get any heat. So you can also verify the board. I will have a video just testing the board, just to verify that the board itself is working. You can also pull the board out, which is on the upper left, and if there's any burnt or anything that does not look right, then go ahead and replace that. And so right now we're removing the housing cover, the element cover. I should have gotten a little closer, but pretty straightforward. Just removing those screws. And the hardest part about the element, I would say, is getting the cover off and getting the element pins out of their thing. So you have to straighten the clips. They do have a I'm not sure what you can call it, but basically a holder on the end of those pins, so you have to literally get them back straight for them to come out. And then pretty much straightforward. you know, you can use a flathead screwdriver to pry that up. Sometimes they do have like a bend over or whatever, so you have to straighten that first, and it comes off pretty easily. I was trying to get a better angle here, but my GoPro was got shifted. And always inspect your element before you put it on. And always inspect your old element. If you remove the element and it is not damaged and you test it and the element is good, then you don't need to do this. You would not go any further. You would check the thermostats as well, as we were doing earlier, and all those had continuity. Now, keep in mind, you could have either a bad thermostat that is switching off too early, and that could also cause you not to heat. So basically just test every component. So this is the part you need to make sure you squeeze those. Again, I apologize about the angle, but once they're nice and straight, then you can slide them right on out. And a good practice is, I'll explain that shortly, but once you get the new element in, it's good practice once it's in and you have made, so you can see on my element right there, it had a slight, I think it got damaged either during shipment or in the van when I didn't realize it. Maybe it got pushed against something, but I was able to straighten it out. So yeah, quick tip here, as you insert your element wires, go ahead and connect your power wires. Don't wait, get them in. So good practice is, as you're working on each component, go ahead and complete that, because as you get busy doing something else, it is quite, possible that you can actually put the machine back together and then you forgot, oh no, then you gotta open it back up. Now, I've heard some guys say you can change the element from the bottom or from the back. Listen, you gotta work on your dryer, take it apart so you can actually look at each component. You can actually see what is wrong. For example, if you have an issue with the element, and let's say you have a roller that is stuck, you're now going to be preventing further damage, and you can actually deal with that roller, take it off, replace it, or maybe just clean it out. Let's say you have a bunch of lint in the motor or inside the element housing. You can deal with that. If you just half-ass it, that's not going to do the job. It's not going to complete it properly. So get in there, do it right. Yeah, I was able to, they were touching, and if they touch, by the way, it's going to be very premature and they will not last. They will get too hot and the wires will just melt. So here's a quick tip on getting back the element in. Some people have problems getting these things lined up. So what you do, get a screwdriver, small pick, and you get it all the way through the bottom up, one on the right, one on the left. There you go, and that's going to keep everybody in place. Now you just have to get something long enough to where it does not fall on you, and once you've gotten it through, you can always pull it back through and stick it from the top down. You can do that as well, and then you can, secure the front piece first. Don't start screwing down yet because you got to secure the front on the left. Sorry about the angle again. There you go. So now we can get these screws in. Also too, if you notice, I did not remove the thermostats. They don't need to be. You just remove one screw on the top and you keep everything intact. You keep all your wires in place so you don't have an issue or worrying about where they go. And if you do remove them, make sure you take pictures. Don't forget your tools. Once you've got your screws in, don't forget to remove your screws from your pick or your tiny screwdriver from back there. All right, so now that we're pretty much done with this, what we're gonna do, so that's the thermostat screws, putting those back in. Same for the height limit. That one can also stop you from heating, just remember that. So now we're going to be checking again. We're gonna get our meter, and we're going to be checking again for continuity. And the reason for that, we want to make sure that the element is intact, not touching anything, meaning not grounding on the metal, or in fact, we could have a bad element. I've actually gotten damaged element. There we go. And that was grounding, and it's not grounding. So basically, you touch the inside of the element to the body of the element, and you should not have continuity. All right, so all looks good, and while you're there, go ahead and clean your machine out if there's a lot of lint. So now we're putting the drum back in. You can use the belt to help you insert the drum. It's a lot easier. I did not do it, but that's how I normally do it. So I'm checking the belt. You want to check for cracks. If there's any cracks, you want to go ahead and replace the belt while you're there. In fact, if your dryer is over 5 or 7 years old, normally Samsung elements, it's going to last you around 5 to 6 years. So if you're replacing the element, I would go ahead and replace the belt as well. And here's an angle on putting the belt on. Hopefully it helps. Pretty straightforward. And you always want to make sure your belt is not twisted. If the belt is twisted, it will fall off the moment the dryer is turned on. So you want to make sure that all that is nice and smooth. And a good practice is make sure you look at the drum and you can see where the belt originally was mating. So the mating surface, you want to make sure the belt is on that same spot, and that will limit whether the belt will fall off. In the same way, you can just rotate the drum slowly as you pop the front piece on. Now it's time to secure the bulkhead, front bulk. Now guys, if you're using an impact, just be careful you don't over tighten those screws. A lot of times I find them and they're just over torqued, and they're literally over torqued to the point to where they're not actually biting into the metal anymore. So just snug them, don't go crazy on them. And of course, if you have any lint, you have to clean it out. Don't put the dryer back together dirty. This video took a little longer because I had to do a video. Most times if you're in and out, you get a dryer element done in no time. Literally, if there's no issues with anything, pretty straightforward. So it's literally, 20 minutes. It can't be too fast. It doesn't look good. So average 30 minutes really, just to make everything nice and professional when you set up. But you can definitely get them done real fast. If it was a race, I could probably do it in 10 minutes. And make sure that you get all your screws back in. You shouldn't have any extra screws left over. If you do, then you failed. And make sure you get your wires in nicely. Those tabs, make sure you do get them in the tabs at the bottom. Don't forget your door switch. It does happen. People put it back together and you're not starting. That's your light switch. By the way, that goes only one way. You can't mess it up. And secure the keeper. Very important, secure the wires. Also, that one screw that holds the board, see that shiny one at the top right there? You do have a screw, and make sure you get that one in. That secures the board to the front bulk, securing the bracket. Final checks, make sure everything is good. Everything looks good. And those tabs, they pretty much hold the front, and it gives you the ability to actually secure it. So if those tabs are pushed down, then you need to push them back up slightly so they're actually able to do what they're designed to do. And again, don't over torque, just snug them. Alright guys, so we're down to our special screws, like we talked about earlier. That's where they go. They have a washer, and the washer basically protects the paint from being stripped or damaged. Alright, we're wrapping up. We're going to put the cover front console on, and then we're going to be powering this thing up. Sometimes these consoles, they're a little bit pain in the you know what, but I wasn't hitting hard, just sometimes tapping them to get them to seat. That's the screw, make sure you get that one. Holds the board holder in. So now I'm putting the cover on. You slide forward, same way you take it off. And then you have two Phillips. Nice. So, alright, so we're plugged in. I was trying to get the temperature, but it just wasn't working. My temperature gun, I grabbed it and was trying to show you the temperature, but not so good. Angle was really bad, so everything works. Alright guys, so I will leave a link to all the parts that can cause your dryer not to heat, and everything worked, turned out well. Thanks for watching.